When you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not.
Okay.
I gave him 3 additional warnings to back up.
Okay, and did he obey those orders?
No, he did not.
You can see that I step back, and I step back again, and I step back again. But my counsel didn't do that.
I don't really want to be part of your YouTube channel. So
You already are.
great.
You already are. He's a pig.
Excuse me?
I said he's a pig.
And I had this really crazy back and forth with these two people for 5 minutes straight.
So apparently he hates every law enforcement officer in the United States. All right. Please stand up, sir.
An American is locked away in a concrete and steel cage for the next 180 days. He damaged no property, he stole no property, and neither harmed nor threatened to harm any other man or woman on this earth. He's in jail on 2 charges: obstructing a public officer and resisting a public officer in a single incident that took place on March 15th, 2023 in this parking lot at this exact location in the parking lot at 4155 South Grand Canyon Drive in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thankfully, the incident was recorded on at least 2 cameras. And if you remain objective, you're going to see exactly what happened that day. And if you're honest, you'll conclude that a man is sitting in jail for absolutely no reason. Now, this is an hour-and-a-half court proceeding, and I'm only going to comment on what I consider the highlights. The link to the entire video will be provided in the description. Here's the awkward initial clash between Chille and Judge Ann Zimmerman.
Are you Mr. DeCastro?
Amen.
Can you turn off your phone, please? The one that's in
I'm
your
just-
hand?
Just communicating with my lawyer. He's on his way here now. So I'm just waiting for him to get there.
All right, I'm gonna wait for your attorney, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jose DeCastro, 23 CR 013015.
Good morning, Your Honor. Agnes Botello and Blatant Cave for the record. Good morning, State.
Good morning, Mike. Me on behalf of the defendant present with me this morning.
So I have signed 2 media requests that permit recording or photographing these proceedings, but I have not granted any other requests to record or live stream these proceedings. So I need Mr. DeCastro and everybody else who wants to stay in the courtroom to surrender their phones, or you can leave.
Are your phone covered? If not, I'll take one or you can exit.
Americans have to know that nearly every courtroom across the land is a constitution-free zone. You have to disarm and you have to follow the court rules, which hardly ever line up with the Bill of Rights. She makes it clear that it's her courtroom, she's in control, and only allows certain people to record. Now here's the friction between Chille, the judge, and the court bailiff.
I need Mr. DeCastro to empty all of his pockets.
What's that?
Empty your pockets
and give up your phones to the judge.
Okay.
I have to give you my phones?
Yeah.
My phones have to be completely off.
Yep. I don't really want to be part of your YouTube channel. So
You already are.
great.
You already are.
Awesome.
I'm not going to get him to this guy, though. I'll get him someone else. I'm not touching myself.
No, they're going to go to my marshal.
He's a pig.
Excuse me?
I said he's a pig.
Okay. So I'm not going to permit you to speak to anybody in my courtroom in that manner. And if you don't want to apologize, I'm going to hold you in contempt.
I apologize to the court, Your Honor.
No, you can apologize to, they've done nothing to you.
Actually, Your Honor, when you were here, you came over and gave me a directive for no reason and started telling me what to do.
Okay,
I
well,
have all the respect in the world for the court. I follow the rule of law all the time.
no, it is their job to maintain the safety and security of the courtroom.
I agree with you, Your Honor.
So if you want to speak like that in my courtroom, I'm going to hold you in contempt. And if I hold you in contempt, you're going to jail. That is not my wish.
I
Okay?
don't wish either.
All right. So I need you to empty your pockets too. Suit pocket, pants pocket.
This is illegal. This is a violation of my Fourth Amendment.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. I don't have any recording devices on me. What are you talking about?
How about your suit jacket?
I don't have anything on me. This is preposterous.
No,
This
it's not.
really is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Me, your phone too. Off.
They're recording everything.
They have a media request.
Right, and I'm not recording anything. Your guy here took my phone, so his phone's not on it? Right. You take the lawyer's phone too?
No, I'm not gonna take the lawyer's phone. He's an officer of the court.
Calling a cop a pig in a courtroom is not advisable when you're standing before a black-robed agent of the state who's already exhibiting signs of extreme bias against Chille and his YouTube channel. The court marshal clearly didn't have to grab the phones out of Chille's hand in that manner. From the start, the deck is already stacked against delete laws.
But I called the bailiff a pig because he had been so rude and aggressive towards me. And it was just like, so I got triggered 3 times. There was 3 triggers. When I came into the courtroom, people don't know this, but before my trial began, there was just me and 2 supporters and a guy in the back who was a troll. And so I had my leg up on the bench. My left leg was spread out on the bench. And the bailiff came over to me and said, take your leg down. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, take your leg down, sit upright. And I said, there's nobody here. The bench is totally empty. He said, you could sit upright in court. And I said, dude, you can go pound sand. And then he told me, oh, I'm going to get my sergeant. And then the other woman came over who was also a bailiff, and she started saying something to me. And I had this really crazy back and forth with these 2 people for 5 minutes straight. I'm talking 5 minutes of arguing with these people. And then what happened was, then those 2 people went back to the judge. They were back there for 5 minutes, and the judge came out and started my trial.
As we've seen many times before in countless videos, when the fragile egos of authoritarians are damaged, any semblance of rationality and fairness evaporates. They are now no longer psychologically able to stay on the task of judging by objective law. They are now governed by their frail emotions. This is why Chille's in this situation to begin with. He damaged the unstable emotions of Officer Brandon Bork during his traffic stop. So let's review why Chille's here.
You good? Why'd they say that you were pulled over?
Before he released.
Oh, I see.
Like, what a
Oh, I see. Oh, gotcha.
You can film, but you need to stay away from my driver. Back up. Back up or I'm going to detain you.
You're going to detain me how? In which way?
Get away from my car.
Actually, I'm standing right here. I'm at least 10 feet away, officer. I got to tell you, I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can do whatever you want, but just understand something. Your name will go on the lawsuit. Mind your own fucking business. Mind your own business. I'm a member of the press. Go get in your car and do your job, little doggy. Go feed her.
You're being detained right now.
Okay, then detain me. Oh, she's free. Oh, you're going to detain a journalist?
Yes.
2015, Rodriguez.
Come over my car.
Don't put your hands on me.
Come over.
Don't touch me. Don't put your fucking hands on me.
I'm going to put my hands on
You know, you're not. I gotta make sure. Hey guys, make sure you guys get my people on the phone. Oh, this is so you ended the stop, you dunce cap. Did you just end the stop? So that's
Yes.
a 2015.
Come over here to my car.
No,
Come over here.
no.
Need an additional unit.
Bring your supervisor, please. Bring your supervisor, please. Don't touch
Over
me.
to the car.
You don't get to put your hands on me. Don't grab me. Don't grab me. Listen, you're not. First get your supervisor out here. You're not just gonna grab me and throw me on the ground. You've already released the. You've already released her. This is 2015 Rodriguez versus United States. I'll walk right in front of your car. Let's go. Sure, come on.
You need to set the phone
There you go.
down on the hood.
No. I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can't take away my
Set the phone down on the hood.
I'm now in
You're being detained. Now you're going to put hands on me.
No.
Come over here.
Why are you grabbing me?
Come over here.
Sure.
Now Officer Bork takes the stand, preliminary questions are asked, and this is the relevant part of his testimony.
Initially, when I saw him, he was just reporting. I ignored him, continued my records check. Then when he came over to the driver and started speaking to them, I got out of the car, approached the driver, and told DeCastro to back up.
And so when you first laid eyes on the defendant, approximately how far away was he from the driver of the vehicle in the Hyundai?
Approximately somewhere within 5 to 10 feet.
Okay. And you indicated that he was recording?
Yes.
Okay. What did you see that led you to believe he was recording?
He had his cell phone camera pointed directly at me.
Okay. And so is that when, upon seeing him being that close to the driver, is that when you told him, you walked up to the driver of the stopped vehicle and asked Mr. DeCastro to back up?
Yes, once he started talking with the driver.
Okay. And why is it that you did that, officer?
Well, I can't have unrelated people next to my traffic stops. I don't know if he's a dangerous person, armed. He could be a boyfriend of the stopped person. It's for my safety and the safety of the person I've stopped.
Okay. Because you're also in charge of the safety of the individual that this unrelated individual is making contact with. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And so you saw it as an officer safety issue as well as a safety issue for the driver?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you approached, well, you said he was recording, the defendant was recording. At any time, did you tell him to stop recording?
No, in fact, I told him he can continue recording.
Okay. He can continue to record given what?
As long as he backed up and gave me an appropriate distance to work.
Okay. And so when you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not.
Okay.
We're going to come back to this because this is a lie that can be clearly demonstrated.
And so what did you do next?
I gave him 3 additional warnings to back up.
Okay. And did he obey those orders?
No, he did not.
This is another lie.
And what, if anything, did you do with the driver of the stopped vehicle, the Hyundai?
At that point, I chose to release the driver of the Hyundai and then focus my attention on Jose DeCastro.
And subsequently, did you turn your attention on the defendant?
Yes.
And can you tell Judge Zimmerman the nature of your interaction with the defendant after that?
I ordered DeCastro to the front of my patrol vehicle while pointing at it and told him that he was detained.
Okay. And what was the purpose of detaining him?
For obstructing my initial traffic stop at the Hyundai.
Okay. And did he obey your lawful order?
No, he did not.
When they get to this point where the prosecution brings her laptop up to the stand to show Bork's body cam footage, they have serious problems with the audio feedback, which is, in my opinion, unacceptable and ridiculous.
You good? Why'd they say that you were pulled over? Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Oh, gotcha. You're gonna detain me how? In which way? Actually, I'm standing right here. I'm at least 10 feet away, officer. I gotta tell you, I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can do whatever you want, but just understand something. Your name will go on the lawsuit. Mind your own f***ing business. Mind your own business. I'm a member of the press. Go get in your car and do your job, little doggy. Go feed her. Okay, detain me. Oh, you're gonna detain a journalist? 2015, Rodriguez. Don't put your hands on me. Don't touch me. Don't put your f***ing hands on me. No, you're not. You guys get my people on the phone. Oh, this is so you ended the stop, you dunce cap. Did you just end the stop? So that's a 2015 case. No. Bring your supervisor, please. Bring your supervisor, please. Don't touch me. You don't get to put your hands on me. Don't grab me. Don't grab me. Listen, you're not. First get your supervisor out here. You're not just going to grab me and throw me on the ground. You've already released her. This is 2015, Rodriguez versus United States. I'll walk right in front of your car. Let's go. Sure, come on. No. I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can't take away my phone. I'm now
detained. Now you're gonna put hands on.
So if you watch the arrest video, you can see that I step back and I step back again and I step back again. But my counsel didn't do that. Definitely he should have prepared for it and he didn't. But at the same time, the judge was being shown the video on a really tiny little computer monitor up behind the judge's bench. So I had to walk all the way up to see it. You couldn't see it, and I couldn't see it from my angle. I struggled to see it.
So the cop's testimony is that Chille didn't step back.
When you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not.
Okay.
Let's take a look at this clip. When the cop walks away from his cruiser toward the driver, Chille is clearly standing with his right foot inside the white line and his left foot on the white line. He backed up, beginning with his right foot, then his left. He's clearly 2 or 3 feet back from where he was initially standing before being told to back up. The left image is where Chille was standing before being told to back up, and the right image is where he was standing after he was told to back up. Now, the cop says he didn't back up at all.
When you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not.
Okay.
The camera says he did. Cops lie, cameras don't. The judge should have thrown the case out on this alone. Assuming Chille's shoe size is close to a foot, it seems obvious that he's at least 3 feet back from where he was initially standing. In my estimation, he was 10 to 15 feet away from the driver's side door after being told to step back.
And then the judge, her last name Zimmerman, she was formerly married to a cop named Zimmerman. She still has his last name of Zimmerman. That means at her wedding were dozens and dozens of cops. And so it's very obvious that she was biased against me from the very beginning.
During the cross-examination, attorney Michael Mee asked Bork this question.
How many feet did you order the defendant to back up specifically?
I never had an opportunity to give him an exact distance.
How far back did you intend to have him back up, even if you didn't express that?
In the background of the video, you could see that there was a parked semi-truck and a light pole. I would have directed him somewhere in that area, which would have been outside the 21 feet.
Your testimony is you never told him an exact distance to back up, correct?
Yes, he never allowed me to.
What do you mean he never allowed you to?
I asked him to back up, and he continued arguing with me, so I could never specify exact distance for him.
But you had time to give him 5 commands to back up, is that correct?
Yes,
Your testimony is he never backed up when you were giving him commands, is that correct?
if he backed up, it may have been inches, but he didn't substantially back up.
At this point, the attorney should have said, hey, this witness is lying, Your Honor. He's claiming that my client didn't allow him to state exactly how far he wanted him to back up, yet he could tell him to back up 4 or 5 times. He also claimed twice that my client didn't back up at all.
When you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not. I gave him 3 additional warnings to back up.
Okay, and did he obey those orders?
No, he did not.
This witness has clearly discredited himself on the stand, Your Honor, and I have proof that my client did exactly what he was instructed to do, even though there's no law stating how far one must be away from a traffic stop. Nor was my client told how far he must back up. So the defense attorney keeps pressing forward with this.
And you just reviewed the body-worn camera from your chest, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. You didn't notice him backing up every time you directed him to back up?
he did not back up.
So you backed up 0 feet, in your opinion? Based on that video?
Not 0 feet.
What was that?
He didn't back up 0 feet. He was moving his feet. As to exactly how far he went back, I don't know, but it wasn't substantial.
What would have been substantial in your opinion? Or what do you mean by that?
I would have guided him if he wasn't arguing with me back toward the light pole and the parked semi-truck.
And
Would have been outside of the 21 feet. That was my goal.
So in your opinion, you have the ability, or you would in any traffic stop, ask somebody to move back 21 feet, is that correct?
Yes, for our training,
And what was that training?
that while we're conducting lawful activity, we're allowed a reasonable distance to conduct our activity.
But where do you get that 21 feet number from specifically?
That's taught to us in the academy. It's based on reaction time, normal human reaction time to a threat.
So your position is anytime you're engaged in any law enforcement activity, you would create a 21 feet perimeter?
Not necessarily. It depends on other environmental factors such as obstacles and barriers.
So your testimony is that every time you conduct a traffic stop, as long as there's no barriers, you would order a pedestrian to back up 21 feet, is that correct?
I would, yes.
The bottom line is, number one, Chille was told to back up, and he did. Number two, the cop lied and said that he didn't back up. Then he said he did back up, and then he said again that he didn't back up. Number three, there is no 21-foot law or any law specifying the distance one must stand away from a cop at a traffic stop. Therefore, no lawful order was given, and therefore, no obstruction occurred and no lawful arrest was made. What we have on camera is an attack by a man in a costume who was butthurt that he was told to mind his own business and was called a little doggy by a man holding a camera and exercising his press and speech rights. So now the cop leaves the stand, Chille enters the stand, and here are some of those highlights.
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel, and the reason I have a YouTube channel is because of how many cops kill people every year, how many cops hurt, maim, torture, rape, and kill people every single year. It's such an epidemic that the rest of the world, I get thousands of emails saying, only in America does this happen. I started filming cops because when I was cheated in 2002.
Objection at this point, relevance,
Well, this is the British being a member of the press.
this narrative.
So can you ask him a question?
Yes, Your Honor. What type of films do you make for your YouTube channel?
I only film police in their official capacity. I'm known across the country and across the world.
And why do you engage in that type of filming?
So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Mead, to direct your questions about the incident in question.
I was filming that cop because that's what I do for a living. I am a member of the press, and I invoked my right to be press. I always invoke my right to be press within the first 10 seconds of engaging with police, and I have thousands of videos that prove this.
Do you recall the officer telling you to back up?
Yes, I do.
And what did you do after he told you to back up?
I took a couple steps back. I just showed him that I was willing to back up a little bit. However, if I may, in Arizona, they created a 10-foot law.
Objection, relevance, we're not in Arizona, it's the state of Nevada.
So I'm going to allow it because I think that goes to why he kept saying 10 feet in the video, even though I will take judicial notice that you're not in the state of Arizona, you're in the state of Nevada.
Well, a federal judge struck it down, Your Honor, and what...
Stop. Can you ask him a question?
Yes, Your Honor. Approximately how many feet did you back up?
I backed up a foot or two. I was at least 10 feet away from that car that the driver was pulled over in.
Did the officer ever give you a specific distance to back up to?
No, he didn't.
If he did, would you have complied with that?
Sure,
Did you believe you were complying with the officer's commands?
100%. I also informed him I'm a member of the press, I'm a constitutional law scholar, that this is what I do.
Do you recall him explaining why he decided to detain you before he arrested you?
He decided to obtain me because he said I was obstructing, which, from my understanding, is a physical act where I would have to get in the way. He said that the driver deserves privacy. I believe my First Amendment rights are not up for feelings. I think from the officer's testimony, we can see that he's scared of the driver, scared of me, scared of everything. They teach them to be afraid of everything. So I had 2 cameras out. It's identified as a member of the press. I'm sorry, repeat the question. I want to get it specific for the record.
Sure. The question was, did the officer explain to you that the basis of your detention was because of you not backing up or because of the privacy issue of the driver?
It was both. He said that, he told me to back up. I backed up a little bit. Then he said, she deserves privacy. And then I told him to go get in your car, little doggy, and write your ticket. And at that point, his face turned bead red, and his veins in his neck stuck out because we were over 20 feet away. And you had to holler to hear each other because the wind was probably 30 miles an hour.
And then instead of following my own advice for a debate or court, you go point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint. Instead of me going up there and saying, I'm a First Amendment auditor, what I do if I stress test our rights. But because my video wasn't shown, I didn't say, see here, I'm at least 10 feet away. And then he said that my veins in my neck bulged out. I didn't get to say, you see his face? His face is all pink and flustered when I called him a little doggy. And so I didn't get to go point, counterpoint, because my video wasn't submitted into evidence. I teach people all the time to treat the judges with respect, treat everybody in the court with respect and dignity, and I didn't do that.
After Chille leaves the stand, the prosecuting attorney says this.
Your Honor, the state asks you to find the defendant guilty of both the obstructing a public officer as well as resisting a public officer charged against him. The video very adequately portrays, and I don't think it's disputed by the defendant, what the context was of the interaction with the officer. I would venture to say that had the defendant just complied with the original order to not engage with the driver and to back up, we wouldn't be here. He wouldn't have found himself further engaging with Officer Moore.
See, the problem is the video shows that he did both of these things. He stopped engaging with the driver and he backed up. And the cop lied. So she rambles on for another 4 minutes and then the defense makes his closing statement.
So first of all, you cannot obstruct an unlawful order. I disagree with the state that this is not a First Amendment issue. The First Amendment in this context actually has two parts. There's the filming and the right to film within a reasonable distance. The case law in all the federal circuits, Your Honor, there's no 21 feet rule that's been approved by any court of which I'm aware. That there is a 10-foot rule. That seems to be the rule that is applied by most of the federal circuits in interpreting the First Amendment. I submitted a bench brief that kind of goes through that issue, if the court's had a chance to review that.
I don't have that. When did you submit it?
It was submitted yesterday, Your Honor.
I mean, at this point, I would move to strike because it's untimely, but I got it this morning when I walked into court.
Go ahead.
So the officer's testimony that there's essentially this 21-foot distance where anybody can charge an officer and cause physical harm to an officer, if that is applied universally, Your Honor, it totally diminishes and violates the First Amendment. That is, as the officer testified, a 21-foot radius that he can attempt to impose. I believe his testimony was anytime there's not an obstacle between a person and somebody that law enforcement is interacting with. And that's just not what the law requires, Your Honor. The First Amendment gives their media, new media, old media, it gives individuals the right to film government agents. The commands to not talk to the driver are also not based on any actual legal justification. There's no right to privacy in public, whether you're engaged with law enforcement or not. There's no requirements or no statute, no law that citizens can't interact with drivers that are interacting with law enforcement. So what's taken place here, Your Honor, is that this officer has taken it upon himself to essentially act as the legislature and created these rules that have no basis in any law and in fact are contrary to the First Amendment. Again, he can't obstruct an unlawful demand, so there is no obstruction of justice here. Resisting arrest, Your Honor, the court can see the video. Essentially what happened is he walked over to the front of the vehicle. There was some dispute about why he was being detained, and that was discussed. The case law in that area, Your Honor, is that if it's an unlawful arrest, which it was in this case because they're essentially arresting him for violating these unlawful orders that they're pronouncing. Again, the case law is you can passively resist an unlawful arrest, and that's all that occurred here, Your Honor. Thank you.
I personally think that was a pitiful attempt at defending freedoms and proving innocence. He simply could have constructed a bulletproof defense with bullet points. Fact, the cop lied. He said my client didn't back up when he clearly did. The prosecution says we wouldn't be here if my client had obeyed the commands to back up and stop talking to the driver. Your Honor, my client clearly complied with both of these commands. So what's the problem? And I agree, we shouldn't be here. The video evidence proves my client is innocent, and if anyone should be on trial today, it should be the law enforcer who attacked my client because he got his feelings hurt for being called a little doggy and was told to mind his own business. The fact is, Your Honor, this is supposed to be a court of law, not a court of feelings. My client broke no law. No lawful command was given, no victim was created, no crime was committed, there was no obstruction, and the arrest was a false one that should have been resisted. Your Honor, you simply can't have a lawful order when there's no law backing the order. Lawful order means any order, directive, policy, or instruction given by an authoritative source or given to ensure compliance with federal, state, or local law, which may be conveyed verbally or in writing. There was no law conveyed. But because the judge cares more about her feelings than any kind of law, and because she feels like officer safety trumps American rights, and because she endorses roadside extortion through traffic law, this was her verdict.
All right, Mr. DeCastro, please stand. The problem with the argument that your attorney makes is it completely fails to consider the safety of the officer and the safety of the driver. The officer doesn't know who you are, and the driver doesn't know who you are. And you don't have any right to interfere with that officer doing his investigation and deciding if he wants to issue a ticket to this driver. And you also don't have any business approaching the driver. The driver didn't ask you for help. The driver didn't say, help, help, you know. You didn't see an altercation happening between the officer and this driver. The officer didn't protest that you were filming. There's no problem with filming. You can film, it's fine, all right? But you did interfere with his investigation. You did interfere with his ability to do his job. You did put him in a position where he is concerned for his safety and the safety of the driver. So I believe the state's met their burden beyond reasonable doubt. I'm going to find you guilty of obstructing a public officer and resisting a public officer.
In my opinion, there was no lawful basis for this conviction. There was only a subjective opinion that Chille obstructed and resisted. This is a dangerous precedent that discourages transparency and penalizes those who would want to hold their public officials accountable. So then the prosecuting attorney recommends that Chille attend an impulse control class, be charged $500 or the equivalent in community service, and serve 90 days suspended sentence on each count to run concurrent. After the defense claims that Chille believes in what he's doing and doesn't want to engage in wrongdoing, the judge reveals the real reason she's passing down such a harsh sentence.
When you say he doesn't wish to engage in any wrongdoing, it seems to me from observing him in the video that he wants this. He wants to get arrested. He wants to get into an altercation with the police officers. He welcomes this. This helps his YouTube channel. He called the officers here in my courtroom today pigs. He called and he's nodding his head up and down. So apparently he hates every law enforcement officer in the United States.
You know, let me talk about that thumbs up. When that judge was saying all that stuff to me, oh, I think this and I think that, I was giving a thumbs up and saying, yeah, lady, whatever you say. I wasn't agreeing with her. She was just giving this big, long speech about me and my character, and she knew nothing about me. She knows that. She doesn't know that I preach constantly nonviolence, do not attack police, do not fight police, do not shoot at police, I teach all the time. You can passively resist, but do not go physical hands-on against the cops. And she doesn't know that about me because she doesn't care. She wraps her legs around the cops. She loves cops.
Please stand up, sir. Are you finished with your request for credit for time served?
I would just emphasize, Your Honor, that the defendant testified and he sincerely believes that he is providing a public service when he reviews and films these incidents. I understand the court may have a different view of that, but when we're talking about First Amendment public policy issues such as supervising people involved in government, I think that is something the court can take into consideration, not to have a chilling effect on that. I'll spit on that, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. DeCastro, please stand. I hereby sentence you to 90 days in the Clark County Detention Center on count 1, 90 days in the Clark County Detention Center on count 2, to run consecutive for a total of 180 days in custody. Thank you.
Sentence suspended or?
Oh no, we're going to start right now.
Can you put two, please? I'm back to the shoulder check. This is a travesty of justice.
This is exactly what it is. A travesty of justice, because a man doesn't like cops or their aggressive and deadly actions against Americans committed every single day.
A little wrinkle that I don't like, please. You'll put me in jail for half a year, sir. How long have I been in the year? Just get it in the car. Yeah, it's in the church. Can I give him my keys real fast? What? My keys are in there. Can I get my keys in the garage? They're inside my, can you enjoy it? No, in the briefcase. Yeah, I'll get your stuff. It's a minivan, some popcorn place on it. Get a hold of my assistant, James.
I'll never, ever, ever not get the best possible attorney, ever. And now that's what I've hired. And so I put up a GoFundMe. I put together a GoFundMe about a year ago, and I sent it to Chuck P. You guys know who he is in the comments. He's a big donator. He donates to a lot of people. And I said, Chuck, if I'm ever in jail, if I'm ever in the dungeon, then release this GoFundMe. So he has the GoFundMe. He's released it. The editors on the channel have put it up in the community tab. I wrote it a year ago, and I said, if you're reading this, I'm in the dungeon. And that's exactly where I am. So I need everybody's individual help. You know, I've done the best I can to help others, and now at this point, I need people to help me. And I've cried 1,000 tears, to be honest. You know, I've cried them silently by myself, and I face down on a pillow in a bunk, and I've just gone through it. And now I have to stop crying, and I have to start, you know, trying to get out of this dungeon. And I knew it would cost $20,000-$25,000 bucks, and that's exactly what this new attorney cost. And that's what I should have done to begin with. I hired kind of a mid-ranged attorney price-wise because I thought this was an open and shut case. I can sit here and blame him all day, or I can just blame myself. Because had I been smooth as silk, I wouldn't be in jail. I have to own my mistakes, and I do own my mistakes. You know, do it better. It's hard to ask people to help me, but I definitely need help. And I'm sorry for the way I handled myself in court, and please don't do it like I did.